Are you familiar with the Police?
Am I familiar with the Police?
Not law enforcement, the band.
No.
You're not? The band The Police, all of the Police albums are great, but I think the one that the true fans believe perhaps is the greatest is called Zenyatta Mondatta. And I was thinking about your name on the way in, not knowing exactly how to pronounce it. Mm-hmm. It has a wonderful rhythm to it, like the Police album Zenyatta Mondatta.
Okay, now I get what I was like. What purpose do you have with mentioning the Police? I get it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Flow Down. This is a podcast featuring conversations with Three Rivers students, faculty, and staff. My name is Andrew Marvin. I teach English at Three Rivers, and my guest today is Almira Gulotta. Almira is a reader, thinker, and swan enthusiast. Almira, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Have you been on a podcast before?
No.
And is that why you're terrified?
Yes.
Okay.
I had to ask my friends for nouns, but apparently no one knows what a noun is because they kept giving me adjectives.
You know, I've been talking a lot more about nouns in class, specifically when it comes to topics, because in literature and in comp, knowing that a topic is just the noun, it's not a complete sentence about the noun. Because sometimes when I, remember from last semester where I would ask you to label what the topic is in your thesis.
Yeah.
And often, way more often than you would think, students will label an entire sentence like, this is my topic, which is a confusing way to think about it because then you have a complete thought, but that complete thought isn't really your topic. The topic is just the person, place, or thing that you're trying to address.
Like pandas.
Right, exactly.
I had a conversation about that with someone. Mm-hmm. Why I think pandas should die.
I don't know if that's going to make it into the show, but...
Down with pandas!
Uh-huh. I remember that. That was a good paper, wasn't it?
Yes. It's one of my favorite papers I've ever written.
Wow, that's a good compliment.
Because normally they're like, write about this. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, here's something you have to do. Write about whatever.
Right.
Which is great.
That's how it was in our class.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was my whole, I'm sure I explained it to you guys at the time, but I used to, back when I was a young and naive instructor, I used to say, you're going to write a paper about this. Mm-hmm. And that quickly ended up being a drag because I would get 20 papers that were all the same and 20 papers that, more often than not, clearly the student didn't really care about that topic.
Yeah.
And so that's no fun.
I mean, it's easier to write because you're like, you don't have to be like, what do I think about pandas? How do I feel about pandas?
Yes.
But it's boring.
Right. And some students, I think a minority of students would prefer just tell me what to do in terms of...
a majority.
Yeah.
A majority.
I mean, in terms of... Because I do think... Because I always ask my students, during every semester... about how they feel about the fact that I do not assign topics. Mm-hmm. And I think most students prefer that, even though it is more work to come up with a topic, because as we know, in English class, the great thing is you can write about anything. You don't have to write about history. You don't have to write about the science that you're studying. You can write about anything. If you can make an argument about it, it's fair game.
Why pandas should die.
Why pandas should die, if you are so inclined. We should be clear in case this does make it into the show. Your argument was that...
Pull the funding from the pandas.
That pandas should not be funded as much as other species. Yeah. Right? But what's the word for it? Superfauna? Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
What is that?
Those are the big animals, like pandas, lions.
Yes.
I want to say oysters, but oysters is not oysters.
Oysters are not a superfauna. Walruses? I don't know if walruses are a superfauna.
Walruses are humongous.
Well, I know they're physically humongous. But the idea of a superfauna, I forget what the term is. I think it's something like superfauna, but it's like the celebrities of the animal world.
But fun fact, they found that protecting a certain environment for the superfauna didn't work. Mm-hmm. That's what it was one of my quotes in that essay. Right.
And so your premise was that the panda, being a charismatic and majestic and adorable mascot for saving the environment, that kind of stuff, it perhaps would behoove us to direct our attention to other species that...
Like oysters.
Like oysters, perhaps, which are delicious.
Really? I hate oysters to eat. I don't like shellfish in general. They're just bleh.
I could eat shellfish all
I
day.
could eat raw fish, like tuna and whatnot.
So you're a big
all
sushi
day.
person?
I love sushi. I love poke.
The best.
If you, one time, I'll just like, I'll eat it so fast. I'm like shoveling. I don't even finish my bite of food before I'm like another scoop of poke, another scoop of poke.
Now, we are big sushi eaters in our household, so much so that I keep a log of when we get sushi on my phone so that we don't get it too frequently.
Boring.
Like, we try not to go more frequently than every 3 weeks for sushi.
I could, if I had the money, I'd be eating sushi like every day. There's so many different types of sushi.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
But I see the poke signs all the time, and I'm always like, what does that even mean? So how does poke differ from what I know as sushi?
You got a bowl. You got a lot of rice. And you just got like fish or whatever. Some the Pokemoto, which is in Groton, has like tofu and lobster and blah blah blah, and salmon. I hate salmon though. I will not eat salmon cooked raw any form.
Really?
I do not. I don't know why. I'll eat tuna like crazy. Whitefish I'll eat them. Tuna though, or not tuna. Salmon.
Yeah. That's interesting to have such strong opinions about those two different types of fish, because we always go for the white tuna, and salmon feels like a default.
Yeah, I don't know why. I can't stand it. I don't like the way it tastes. I don't like the way it smells, cooked or raw anyway. Don't like it. But anyways, poke, and then you have a lot of toppings. So it's like, I don't know, like if you went to Chipotle, it's basically like that, but fish.
Interesting.
Better. I don't like Chipotle.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had it. I love rice, though. And if I ever learn to make rice, we're going to be in big trouble. You don't know how to make
rice?
I don't, quote unquote, know how to make rice. In the sense that I just haven't learned how to do it yet. Apparently, it's very easy.
It's like probably about the same level of easiness as like boiling pasta.
Okay.
You just like, you get your rice and you get your water and you pop it in.
Do you even need a rice cooker?
No, but it's easier. You just go rice. You press the rice button and boom.
Yeah. If I learn how to make risotto, I think it's going to be bad news ultimately for my health.
Arancini? I love arancini.
Yeah. Just give it to me. I don't care what form or shape the rice is in.
My favorite food, though, is steak.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I don't know. I would have guessed that.
I once ate a steak so good I started crying from joy.
Wow. Where was that?
Salute in Hartford.
I've been to Salute in Hartford.
It was a special. I was looking at my mom and I was like, can I please get the special steak? And she was like, sure, whatever, I don't care. And I took one bite and I was like, it's so good. It's so good.
Wow.
And my mom thought something was wrong. The fries were fine, but the steak was really good.
That's great. I remember as a kid being served steak and it being very chewy and not an enjoyable experience.
Is it gray? I feel like if you overcook
Probably.
it. Yeah, if you overcook it, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm sure my parents wanted to ensure that it was cooked enough for a young person. Yeah, boring. 2 mentions of boring and mention of boredom.
I'm probably going to say boring a lot.
Okay. Well, I'll try to reduce the number of times I make you say the word boring. But now steak is one of the great pleasures.
Yeah.
I think. Is there a specific cut of steak that you like?
I don't know the differences.
Like strip steaks or ribeye steaks or fillets.
As long as it's not cooked too much.
Yeah.
They closed this place in Mystic called Grass and Bone, which I don't know if you've ever been in there.
I don't think so.
It's closed now, which I almost cried when I found out because I ate their beef tartare like crazy.
Oh, wow.
But their beef tartare isn't the French style of beef tartare. I hate the French style of beef tartare because it's like cat food. They like chop it up fine and they put a raw egg yolk on top.
Uh-huh.
If I wanted to eat that kind of texture, I'd open up my cat's thing.
Right.
Yeah, gross. But theirs was like pokey size, so like kind of like that size meat, and it was super spicy, and they had a lot of pickled stuff, and it was on crispy rice.
Sounds pretty good.
Soy sauce. It was so good. And then they closed it, and I was so sad because now the only time. If I want to have that, I have to make it myself because everywhere else sells French beef tartare.
But beef tartare is raw beef, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried it. I don't know if I'm...
I love it.
Huh.
Love it.
Wow. That's all good. Okay, so you feeling more relaxed?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
This is fun.
You're episode 10, you know.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good.
I just looked through all the topics. I just like the headings of the people.
Oh, yeah.
Because I never listen to podcasts. I only agreed to this because it was you.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to do.
Is this because I said I'm a better orator than a writer?
No, I don't even remember you said that, but now that
okay.
you remind me, I'm glad. And it's only reinforcing that I made a good choice.
Because, like, after I told you that, and the next day you were like, you want to be on my podcast?
I think it's been more challenging lately because I try to ask a student who is not currently in my class because I don't want them to feel obligated, to be on the show if I'm also going to be grading them, even though it has nothing to do with the classwork. So I try to ask previous students of mine to be on the show, but more often lately, people that I have invited on the show have respectfully declined because, like you said when you came in, that you feel terrified about
I wasn't,
this.
like, super terrified. It was just, like, I don't do much. Like, I'm not, like, a big doer of things. So when you were, like, come up with 3 nouns, I was like, I'm not, like, most of the other students you have been, like, president of club, does stuff. I sit in my room and I think. I think for hours at a time. I just sit doing nothing, and I'm like, what a lovely thought that is. Let's expand upon that.
Yeah, that's interesting to me because I think that, because you also mentioned boredom as one of your struggles, but you also cite sitting and thinking as being one of your pastimes.
So the problem is I get bored when I run out of things to think about. When
But
I'm like,
how can that be?
like, I've already, like, because I think for hours. So I'm like, these are all these interesting topics, blah, 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 blah. Let's go into them. Let's think about it. But then sometimes I've thought about it too much.
Yes.
And now I'm like, I don't have anything else to say about this topic.
You thought your last thought.
I've thought my last thought, and all the other thoughts are just reruns of my other thoughts. And so that's when I get bored, is I'm like, gotta find something to think about.
Yeah. So is this like literally sitting in a room with your hands unoccupied and just sort of staring at the wall
About
and thinking
50% of the time. Sometimes I do something really mindless. Like, I've got Cookie Run Witch's Castle, which is like Candy Crush.
It's a phone game?
Yeah, I just, and I'm like, yes, violence, war, love, topics I like to think about. And I just think about that, and I'm just doing nothing. Or I sew now. So sometimes I'll sew, and I'm like, yes, time to think about things. Or right now I've been playing a lot of Pokemon. My brother lent me his Nintendo 3DS. I've been playing so much Pokemon. I went home after playing Pokemon at school, because I brought it with me. I have it in my backpack right now. And then I went home, and I played Pokemon for 5 hours.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yes, and I was thinking the entire time.
Not about the Pokemon, though.
Sometimes you just have to think about the Pokemon because you're doing things.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just like, click Razor Leaf. Click Razor Leaf.
Right. Once you learn Razor Leaf, you don't really have to do much else.
Obviously. After I got my Venusaur, don't have to do much else.
Right, yeah.
So, and then it's just like, I know I have a destination. And I just, like,
In the game.
I have a goal that's not, like, I don't have to think about it, though.
Okay.
Like, you go on this path to get here, and you catch this.
Right.
Exactly. And
Are you trying to catch them all?
no.
No, not worried about that.
So annoying.
Having to catch them all, feeling obligated to catch them all.
Because there's percentages of, like, chance. Because I wanted to go get the pre-evolution of Lucario.
Okay, so this is a later Pokemon game, because I don't recognize
Yeah.
that one.
Boring. Lame.
Which Pokemon are you playing?
Pokemon X, which was my favorite as a kid, which is it's in 3D, so like it's a little bit older, but it's not the newest.
Right.
But it's got doesn't have Pokemon Jesus. That's a different game.
You said 3DS.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was, as you can imagine, I was a Pokemon Red boy.
Yeah.
So that was the OG.
How old are you?
37.
Oh, it's older than I thought. I was like early 30s.
Thank you. Cetaphil moisturizer. My birthday is traditionally during spring break. Not this semester, though, because spring break is during week 8 instead of week 7.
Now that I'm in college, my birthday's during winter break. Except for, well, no, I had my birthday and then I had to do one singular final. But I hate winter birthday. My least favorite type of people are people who are like, can I just give you your Christmas and birthday gift in one?
That's a drag.
No.
Yeah. How close to Christmas is your birthday?
When's Christmas?
The 25th of December.
10 days.
Okay.
That's like a week-ish.
One of my best friends from graduate school his birthday is Christmas Eve.
I would lose my mind.
I know. Can you imagine?
My eye would be twitching the entire time. But people always forget my birthday, and I used to be really sad about this in elementary school. Because I also had this girl who I didn't like, but they made me be friends with her in elementary school because, kumbaya, all that. You can't just not talk to people in elementary school, which maybe I just don't like them.
Yeah.
What's the alternative is I fight. Pow, pow, pow.
With fisticuffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, we don't want to do that.
She had the same birthday as me, and they always remembered hers, but they never remembered mine, and so I'd cry every birthday.
Mm-hmm. Is your relationship with winter improved by the fact that your birthday is in the winter? You love the winter. What do you love about it?
I don't like the heat. I don't like the sun. I have to take vitamin D3 supplements.
Oh, yeah, me too every day. 5,000, what is it, IU, international units?
Anytime the sun is in my eye, I'm going, oh, the sun, no. I really don't like it. I don't like going outside in the summer unless I'm at the beach because then the water's cold.
Okay. So you do supplement with vitamin D because you don't like the sun?
Yes,
that makes sense.
To go outside.
Okay.
But I love the winter. I love snow. It's quieter in the winter.
Yes.
No bugs.
Yes.
I despise bugs. One of my top 3 biggest fears is ticks.
Oh my God. Seems like ticks.
Anytime I think I have a thought, I have to talk about the thought.
I think that makes for good podcast radio.
Yeah. But it's like boom, 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 all over the place.
That's okay. Yeah. I think I have tried in recent years to train myself to like winter and to love winter because it's very easy to be like, oh, it's cold and dark and all of this.
It's cold and dark.
Yeah.
I love cold and dark.
Right. But you can't do anything about the cold and dark other than choose to embrace it.
And like, I still have my AC in. So in the summertime, my AC 24/7, I cannot stand the heat. I will remote start my AC so by the time I get into my room, it's cold.
Yeah.
My room gets so cold that the front of my door facing the rest of the house has precipitation on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have direct control over the AC in your house? Like you're in charge of it?
Yeah, because we don't have central AC.
Okay.
I live in a house built pre-Revolutionary War.
Wow, that is old.
Oh my gosh, so annoying.
What do you keep the thermostat at?
Like 60.
60 is pretty cold. That's almost in the 50s.
It used to be in the... I had to get a new AC. My first purchase when I had a job, my very first big girl purchase, I had to get an AC. I was so pissed off. And I got a small AC because I was like, I don't know how big my AC is. So I got one that was like 150, What did not work for my room. I have the biggest bedroom in the house. I have what is considered the master suite. I have my own bathroom and everything. Because
nice.
My parents were like, we'll never move again, and then we moved, and I was really sad about that. So they were like, we'll let you pick your bedroom first, to make me unsad.
Yeah.
And that's worked out great for me.
Yeah, that is great.
But it didn't work, so I had to return it, and I had to go to Home Depot. I was so upset. I had to buy a $300 AC. First paycheck.
Is this like a portable air conditioner?
I don't know. It's in the window. I don't know the difference.
Oh, like a window unit.
Yeah, a window unit. So it's in there, and I was so mad.
Yeah, when we bought our house, we did not have central air, but we had the ductwork because we had, I forget whatever kind of heat. Yeah, it's like forest air or something like that. I don't know, but we had the ductwork, so we just had to eventually pay to get the condenser installed and everything, and we do not regret it because those first couple of summers were steamy.
Before I had an AC, I had every single available spare fan in the house. I had like 6 of them, all facing my bed, and I turned them all on in the summer. Because also my room gets direct sunlight. It's direct sunlight, and I have 2 radiators in my room. It's unbearably hot sometimes, and so I'm like, open the window in the winter and let the air in.
Yeah, you get a little greenhouse effect probably with all that sunlight.
Oh my God, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I think other than my office is in the basement, which we call the cave, and that has no heat, so it's very cold down there. It's like 59.
Love that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Ideal for me.
I have a space heater, which I enjoy, but I only keep it to like 61 or 62 just to take the edge off. But our bedroom is probably the coldest room in the house proper, which is good for sleeping.
Yeah, it's great. I don't get people who like want to be really warm at night. I don't. I want the opposite. Even now with my room cold, I still only sleep with like half a blanket on. I can't stand it.
Yeah, you gotta stick your feet out. Keep it to regulate the temperature.
I only wear nightgowns to bed. It was so funny. One time someone thought I was a ghost because I live in a historic district. But I was wearing this like floor-length vintage nightgown and a robe, and I had my hair in curlers.
That's fairly creepy.
Yeah, I love nightgowns.
Nice. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. But yeah, the winter, it's for I think I might have mentioned this article on a different episode, but I found an article once about the journalist was talking to people who live in whatever extremely cold climate. And the nature of the article was like, do you find it depressing that there's only 4 hours of sun? And they're like, no, why would we? And it just kind of really hit home with me that you have to choose to embrace the qualities of the season, which is sleeping more, warm foods and soups and that kind of thing.
I love soup, so this is a great season for me.
I do try to get outside for the walking and the sunlight, even so.
Sunlight. We have a treadmill in my house, so if I want to walk, I can just stay inside.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I think about the treadmill as an option, but I fear it would become a clothing storage rack.
We have a lot of rooms in our house that we don't use. So one of our rooms is like gym/guest room right now. So
we're pretty good about getting outside regardless, unless the weather is like dangerous.
bugs.
The bugs
They
are
love
tough.
me no matter how much bug spray I put, bug repellent. They want to feast. I mean, mosquito bites, and then my eczema gets bad.
Oh, yeah.
Eczema's
Famously, the Marvin men are very attractive to mosquitoes. And yeah, it's really tough. And we live in the woods because we live in Lyme proper. And so ticks are a constant top of mind thing. Have you ever had a tick on you?
Yes, and I freaked out. I had a panic attack, and I was like, please take me to the doctor right now.
Yeah.
I don't want Lyme disease. Even worse than that, Lyme disease, manageable. What would send me into a spiral would be getting alpha-gal syndrome, which makes you allergic to all red meat. No more steak.
See, I didn't even know that was a thing, so now I can worry about that.
Yeah, you should. It's terrifying. Someone I know has it, and I'm like, you can only eat chicken, you poor thing.
What's it called?
Alpha-gal syndrome.
Alpha-gal syndrome?
Yeah, I did
Sounds like a good thing in our feminist society. Alpha-gal.
Alpha-gal makes you allergic to meat.
That sounds devastating. I had Lyme disease for a brief period because I got the rash.
Oh.
Yeah, and I went to the walk-in right away, and they were like, "Oh yeah, no question about it." So, but it was 3 weeks of antibiotics, and then it was fine.
I didn't get a rash, thankfully, because I took it off of me. I went hiking once with my friend. My friend was like, "Please come hiking at the Connecticut Arboreal Society." I was like, "Okay, for you, Rowan,
Yep.
I'll do that." And then I got a tick. And
Thanks, Rowan.
Yeah, I will never go hiking again.
Yeah, the rash is kind of good because it's an early warning sign.
Yeah, it's a big target.
Yeah, but I asked the woman who treated me at the walk-in, like, am I a person who's always going to get the rash? And they were like, no. So it's possible to get Lyme disease, not get the rash, and then it's...
I'm going to start crying.
Yeah, the longer you have it, though, the more likely it is to do damage.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, it was terrible. I went hiking, and then I had to go to work, and then I found out I had a tick on me. I was very upset.
Did you have tweezers handy?
Yes, my mom did.
That's
my mom
good.
Took it off.
Yeah,
I was crying.
Yeah, it's scary. Was it attached?
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep tweezers in the car, in the bathroom, in the garage.
Yeah, because you live in the woods.
Yeah, because we live in the woods.
I could never live in the woods.
But wintertime is the time to go into the woods because everything's frozen.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I will go outside sometimes.
Yeah, Abby's a big trail hiker. I usually just stick to the asphalt, but...
Exactly. Asphalt means less tall grass, less problems, less ticks. My number one biggest fear, though, is rabies.
Rabies is scary.
Rabies is... I was watching an episode of Criminal Minds, and this serial killer was killing people by infecting them with rabies, and I had to stop, and I went and I threw up, and I had to skip that episode.
I feel like, in terms of day-to-day life, I might argue that Lyme disease is more scary than rabies because I feel like the scary thing about Lyme disease is that you could not know you have it until it's too late.
You can live with it.
Yeah.
You can treat it. Rabies, you get it, you die.
I just feel like you're going to know if you get bit by a rabid animal.
Well, you can touch a bat and get rabies.
Just by touching?
Yeah, you can get it by rabies. That's why they're like, don't touch the bat, don't touch the bat.
Isn't it transmitted by like fluids though, and like blood, bites, saliva?
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I just know that you're not supposed to touch bats because you can get rabies.
Bats eat mosquitoes though.
Yeah, so they should stay outside.
Right.
Outside.
Yep.
And not come in.
No.
And then I'll be fine with them.
Yeah.
But then I don't go outside. So they can be outside. And I can be inside and we'll live perfect.
Yes, I think a bat in the house would be a not ideal
crying.
situation.
We once had a flying chipmunk in our house, and my cats were going crazy.
That sounds almost fun.
It came in through the chimney.
So chimney and like came out like Santa Claus, like into the main living space.
Not in the main living space. Now it's my mom's walk-in closet, but we used to have like the fireplace room when we used to use a fireplace. Because, 1700s house.
Yeah.
So, and it just came through the chimney I have no idea what season, and our cats were going crazy, and we just thought it was mice, because in the wintertime we get mice, but not in the summertime. Yeah. But also we live in an old house.
Sure.
I don't see them, and my cat loves to eat them. Mm-hmm. So as long as I don't see him actively eating the mouse, because one time I did, and he was torturing it.
Yeah, they play with them.
Yeah, and I was like, please kill it, please just kill it, please.
It can be very traumatic.
I was trying to help him kill it, because I don't want the mouse alive either.
No.
It can die. That's fine.
Right.
But please just quickly, mercifully kill it. And then he eats it.
Yeah.
And my mom always finds him because she wakes up there. Well, no, my dad wakes up the earliest, but sometimes he'll just leave it in front of my mom's door.
Right.
Like, for you, we've killed the mouse.
I brought this
Much
for you.
Much love. And yeah, bad. Mm-hmm. Our old cat who died, he was an outdoor cat. We couldn't not keep him outside. He just found ways outside. Pamuk, which means cotton, because he was a white cat.
That's a cool name.
Yes, thank you. He killed snakes, like small snakes, not big snakes, not poisonous. But he'd bring them to my mom, and my mom is terrified of snakes. I
don't mess with snakes. You do? Ugh.
I want to pet one.
No.
My mom won't let me.
I have encountered what are presumably rat snakes. A rat snake while mowing the lawn. Big black suckers.
Are those poisonous?
No, but they're significant in their presence. I jump very high in the air.
I love snakes as a symbol of knowledge, like the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail.
Right. Is that a symbol of knowledge?
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, there should be a comma in between those. Symbol of knowledge, comma, Ouroboros.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't know if the Ouroboros represents knowledge, but I suppose it could. But is the snake as a symbol of knowledge, is that a biblical thing?
Probably. Because like the other one is like evil, poison.
Right.
Betrayal.
Poisonous knowledge.
Yeah. Right. But like, is that not fun? Poisonous knowledge? How fun. I'd eat the apple. Yeah. You know, someone said like, I wouldn't eat the apple. And it was like, that's why it was there. Like, that's my thing with it. Is like, why would he put it there if he didn't know they were going to eat it? You know, why did God put it there?
That's a good point.
He's whatever, one of the omnis. Mm-hmm. He knows it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And like, same thing with Judas. Like, Jesus knew what was going to happen. And he still picked Judas.
Right.
Because it had to happen.
Right.
So why do we hate Judas so much?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you're a big Judas defender.
One of my friends said I should put Judas sympathizer as my...
As one of your nouns?
Yeah, but I was like, that sounds too similar to Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah, but you're talking about in terms of... Because I don't know to what degree... Because I remember going to Sacred Heart University as an undergraduate, we all had to take Intro to Religious Studies, even though it was not a... It's a Catholic university, but it's not a catechetical university. Like, they don't teach you to follow a certain religion.
Yeah.
But I remember in my first semester having to take religious studies at 8 a.m. as a college freshman.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was rough. Not good for the GPA. But my professor identified herself as a theologian, which is an academic who studies religion but also has their own religious faith, as opposed to... I don't know what the opposite would be. Like, I guess a philosopher who studies religion but doesn't practice.
Would that be like theologist?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So I don't know if you consider yourself a theologian or a philosopher or a theologist.
If big money was in humanities, I'd be a humanities major. So I would probably either do like religion or... not architecture.
Right.
I wanted to be a fashion designer as a kid.
That's cool.
Yeah. I love fashion.
What about fashion speaks to you?
It can be a reflection of the current political and social state of the world.
Yes.
And I really, really enjoy that. Most people, they're just like, oh, fashion, clothes, pretty. But like, after World War II, and you had the bikini, and then also leading on into that, you had more freedom for women's rights, and it's this really nice reflection. And I don't look at fashion shows anymore, but before, and when I also had social media, I could see we have this trend on social media of like very big women empowerment, like a focus on like, what is it called? Like dark feminine, like darker stuff and like women, wah. And you could see that reflected in the fashion shows. They were like a lot more edgier in that kind of sense, going along with the social state of the world. And then right at the end of that year, I saw a really big surge in like, what's the word, like trad wife content. And then this was also the year that bows got popular. And Marie Antoinette, which don't even get me started on Marie Antoinette.
Okay.
But stuff like that, and like pink and frill, and like the women's place is in the kitchen, and girl dinner, or explaining economics for girls, explaining the current political state of the world for girls, which I despise that, because why do women have to have a dumbed down version of it?
Yeah.
It should just be explaining economics for dummies. You don't understand economics, you idiot? This is for you. Instead of like, for girls. And then in the fashion state of the world, you also saw like a really heavy emergence of that too, of like the more traditionally feminine clothing in that like pushed out this like edgier, more defiant, like against, I guess, like stereotypically feminine clothing. And I really enjoyed that. And I did a couple of years ago, I did an essay on like World War II's effects on fashion.
Cool.
Did you know the bikini is named after this place where they tested nuclear bombs?
The Bikini Islands?
Yeah.
I did not know that specifically. I was aware that there were islands called the Bikini Islands, but I did not know the connection.
I don't know if it is that, but but I know they're named after something like that.
Yeah.
It was really, they really didn't like the bikini at the time, but it also, you could see like women were allowed to have more jobs because, the men died. Thank goodness.
Right. Rosie the Riveter and such.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think that's a great point, because it's really easy to think about fashion as being a superficial sort of like, who cares about how you look? It's what's on the inside that counts and all that kind of thing. But I do think there is, like you said, the historical significance and how the fashion reflects the politics and the culture of the time. And I also, in recent years, have gotten more into the craft of fashion. Like these are selvage, raw selvage jeans, which I invested in.
Very nice.
Which are made on a bench by two guys in New Hartford. Shout out to the Hartford Denim Company. And they are an investment, but I love them because I feel like I will have them forever, as opposed to having to replace my such and such brand every year or two.
My Gap jeans.
Yeah, which are super comfy and feel like pajamas. But no, I really I love the investment. They make me feel powerful.
My favorite brand is Madewell. I'd always call it Madewell because I didn't realize it was Madewell until like recently. But they like have a lot of their stuff is handmade and they're really good quality. I have these pants. They're like pleated and they're great and they're like,
nice.
I love them.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are always so quick to dismiss fashion as a serious thing. And I think part of the reason why is because we really associate it with women. Like, oh, it's women who love fashion. And men don't care about how they look. And so therefore it's an inferior like art form.
Yeah.
But as my mom made this sweater. As someone who's grown up around people who make things to be used and to be worn, like, I despise that. But it's, it's just a knit sweater. Who cares what it looks like?
Yeah.
My best friend makes jewelry, which is not clothes, but still, like, it takes so much work to just make a single pair of earrings or make a single sweater. It takes weeks. And, I mean, fast fashion, don't like that, but...
Yeah, I've gotten plenty of papers about that from students.
But yeah, I think that we dismiss it so easily just because it's associated with more feminine things. Like when we think of models, we're usually thinking of like the women who wear those clothings. But to make something that's good, I guess is the only word I can think about. It takes so much work and so much effort. And there's historical significance to it as well. There's people who study the history of fashion.
Yeah.
It means something.
Right. And I think it makes a huge difference in how you feel. When you choose to wear something that you like or something that you're proud of. I've only taught public speaking here once or maybe twice. And I don't recall instituting a quote-unquote dress code for students when they had to do their presentations. But I think what I would say if I were to teach it now is you should wear whatever makes you feel confident as a speaker. And maybe that's pajamas, but also maybe it's not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, being a college professor, there isn't really a dress code. But I do choose to wear what I wear because it puts me in the mode. It's the uniform. That's why I cuff my sleeves regardless of how cold it is outside, is because it puts me in the get down to business work of the classroom.
One of my favorite parts of the day, and sometimes the most stressful, is like picking out what I wear. Because like if I don't like what I wear, that's not my one thought, but it's going to be like, ugh, I'm uncomfortable in this and that kind of stuff. And it's so important. And like when I get to look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, yes, I look good.
Yeah.
And I feel good. And I think that's really important. And I don't know, people always dismiss caring about what you look like as being superficial or vain, but there's, in my opinion, like a real difference between just caring and being obsessed with it. And that's with most things.
I think that the test that I have been thinking about lately when it comes to whether it's a piece of clothing or like the chair that I'm sitting in, or is this the right pair of shoes or something, or the pen that I'm using, the question is, am I thinking about it? Because like this chair that I'm sitting in, the Steelcase Leap provided by the college, I love, and the reason that I know I love it is because I never think about this chair. I never think about how it's uncomfortable. I never think about how it is comfortable. It's not a distraction. And the same thing for my shoes or the pen or something. Like if I find myself thinking about it or noticing it, that to me is a signal that maybe it's not the right thing, because it is a kind of distraction.
I like that. I love my favorite pen. It makes me so happy when I see it in my pencil box. I'm like, my favorite pen, I can use my favorite pen. And then I don't think about it while I'm using it.
Right. Is your favorite pen like a specific pen, or is it like a model of pen where you can buy more of them?
Model of pen. I get it from this place called Muji. Love Muji.
I just got a letter tray for my home office made by Muji.
Oh my gosh, I love going in there. I have my stapler in my backpack because I have a mini stapler from Muji. My favorite pencil is also from Muji. It's this nice sleek black one.
I always think about, should I get into pencils? And I haven't yet.
You only need one good pencil.
I hear good things about the black wings.
I don't know. I just go to Muji and I'm like, my favorite pencil.
Muji pencils. So what is the Muji pen?
It's like a clear one, but it writes so nicely, and it doesn't have a grip. I don't like pencils or pens with like the rubber grip. Yep. I will rip them off.
Yeah.
They bother me immensely. I don't know why.
Rubber grips, you said?
Yeah. And then so it was important that I found a black pen that wrote well with no grip. And I also like the way it looks. It's very like sleek and it's clear and you can see things. And I also need it to be easily disassembled, because when I get bored in class, I start disassembling stuff.
It, yeah. I like being able to replace the ink cartridge.
Oh, that too.
For sure. I was a Pilot G2 guy for a long time, but I have for a number of years I've been into the thinnest weight, like the 0.38 thickness, because like people use the 0.7, and to me that feels like a Sharpie. Like it's so thick.
I like a 0.5. That's
0.5 is a good middle ground.
Because if I go any smaller, just because of how I write, I like it won't pick up enough because I just go.
Right.
I don't know. Have you seen my handwriting?
I don't know, maybe, but probably not.
Notoriously bad.
Oh, you've seen mine all over the board.
Mine is worse.
Okay.
Mine is like triple that. I don't think my handwriting has improved since I learned how to write. So.
Yeah. People try my 0.38s and they're like, this is so scratchy. I hate it. But I think it helps me write a little bit more neatly. Lately, though, I have been using the Pilot Juice instead of the G2.
I love Juice.
Yeah, the Pilot Juice 0.38. I think those are good. Those are clicky pens, though. And so the pen that I keep on my desk at home is, I forget the exact model. It's the Signo DX, and it's a capped pen. And you would think, what do I want to keep track of a cap for? Right? That seems annoying. But I think that people who get into the habit of, like this pen that I'm holding is a Frixion Ball 0.05. And the clip is the click.
I will just spend the entire hour
Right.
clicking that.
Yeah, and I try to be as unannoying to the people around me as possible. So I feel like I want to, minimize subconscious clicking of the pen. And I also really have come to appreciate the little ceremony of uncapping the pen when I'm going to use the pen. It's like a little mindfulness moment, and then recapping the pen when I'm done writing something.
I kind of feel that way with my Muji pencil because you have to uncap the eraser. And it really makes me think, like, why am I erasing this? Mm-hmm. Is it bad or is it just wrong? Like,
yes.
Did I write it wrong?
Right.
I don't know. I used to have a class where we had to write everything in pen because she didn't want us to erase. And if we didn't like something, we had to cross it out, which was kind of annoying because I spelt things wrong all the time. But I like that practice of being like, why am I erasing it?
Yes.
So
I think that's great. I thought about, just yesterday, I was in a faculty council meeting and I was taking notes because I'm responsible for taking the minutes of the meeting. And I was thinking, wouldn't it, and I was like, scrawling horrifically in my notebook to try to capture what was being discussed so that I could write good minutes because I care about taking good minutes. And I thought about how in high school, I took a class called Information Processing, which I think was primarily a touch typing course, so I can type properly without looking as fast as I can think, which is a gift that I'm so grateful for.
yeah.
But I also, I don't know if it was that class or maybe it was a different class, but I also had some class where we learned shorthand.
Oh.
Yeah, and it didn't stick with me the way touch typing did, but I was thinking in this meeting yesterday, wouldn't it be great if I knew how to took actual shorthand? And that feels like a valuable skill that I would be proud to have. So I started looking at books. There are lots of different systems of shorthand.
My only problem is my handwriting is already so bad.
Right.
It's like, I feel like, I don't know what shorthand looks like, but I feel like I would be like, what? Because I'm already, sometimes I'll look up my notes, like especially if I'm taking in-class notes, and they're almost entirely illegible. So I have to like bring them up to my face, and I'm like, what was that word? I always tell people they can cheat off me if they can read it.
That's a good compromise. The shorthand systems that I've looked at, and again, I haven't thought about this in years, but it's like, it uses effectively squiggles to represent different vowel sounds and things.
That would be impossible for me, personally.
I like the idea of it, though, as like a personal project. Like Abby has like 1,000 days on Duolingo for her Portuguese.
I try to use Duolingo to improve my Turkish, because I can speak Turkish pretty fine, but there was just so much wrong with it on Duolingo. And also I was like, why are you teaching me the formal version? Because there's formal and informal stuff. And I was like, we almost never use the formal word for thank you, which is teşekkür. I can't even say it. Teşekkür ederim.
That's the formal?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what it was teaching her. And I was like, I don't know if I'm a native speaker, but it's English and Turkish I learned them at the same time.
Okay.
So I'm like, I never use this word. I can't say it. I just go, Saul.
So you feel equally fluent in both?
No. Because I don't, the only person I can talk to in Turkish is, like, my mom, or if I call my family members. Like, if you sent me out into Turkey, I could get around fine. But if you were, like, trying to have this kind of conversation, I'd be like, let me Google that real quick. And, like, anything, like, academic, I couldn't do it because I've never had to.
That makes sense. And
then we also, I don't know any Turkish people my age to, like, talk to. There's no one in the area. Yeah,
they say you have to really use it all the time, otherwise you lose it, as they say. Do I remember correctly that you have family in Turkey?
Yes.
Yeah. And have you've been there often? You go there frequently?
My mom goes more frequently than me, just especially now because our breaks are not at the same time, which my mom is really upset about, but it's so expensive. Like, if I wanted to go to Turkey right now, it would be $1,600.
Just for airfare?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, insane. And I would really love to stay in a hotel next time I go there because I really don't want to have to deal with my family members. They're awake until 11 p.m. I want to go to bed. Yeah. I want to go to bed.
Not a night person.
I am. But when I go there, because it's like the time difference.
Oh, the time difference, sure.
Yeah, the time difference always messes me up. I have had insomnia since I was born. Like, I was difficult to put to bed as a baby.
Well, you're thinking all the time.
Oh, yeah. All my thoughts. Always. 100%. Anytime someone's like, well, you got to get out of your brain. You got to get out of your head. I'm like, why, though? That's where you live. Yeah, exactly. That's all I do is brain.
I think that's a great mindset because the mind can be such a scary place to be. But also, if it's all you got, really.
Yeah, it's not like I can detach it. It's not like I can take a break from it. Like, you got to get out of your head. No, you got to get in your head. That's how you fix things.
Yeah.
You got to get in it and you got to go work through it.
Get into
your
it.
Head.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They say that, ignorance is bliss, which I think is true.
Yeah.
And I think it is more difficult to choose to be an educated person and to choose to be self-aware, because I almost feel like that was, I did and do yoga, did yoga for a long time, did a certification for yoga teacher training and that kind of thing.
Oh.
And really love it. Very important part of our household. But I also feel like there is a double-edged sword to it, just in terms of the awareness that it teaches you. Also, sometimes it is easier to not be aware of like every sensation that your body is feeling, because you do tend to think like, why is my left finger tingling? Am I having a stroke? And that can be stressful.
I don't know. It's never been that thing for me. Like, every night I'm like, I always think about, like, what is my body feeling right now? How does it feel? But my least favorite thing about yoga is they're like, clear your brain. And I'm like, I cannot. Me and my brain are attached at the hip. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? I can't get out of my head. And it's not like there's no problem. Like, I don't have a problem with being in my head either. I'm not, like, self-deprecating or anything. I don't have those kind of, because I love my brain. My brain is my favorite thing about me.
That's wonderful. My yoga teacher, I may have said this before, but people always say like, oh, I want to learn to meditate so I can turn my brain off. But my yoga teacher would say that's not what meditation is for. The purpose of meditation is to practice thinking about one thing and focusing on one thing and bringing your awareness to one thing. Like, your brain's job is to think.
Yeah.
And so the meditation is just to control it, so all your thoughts aren't crashing into each other all the time.
It's like if you sat me down and you were like, don't talk, or don't spin. If you sat me down in one of those spinny chairs we have in class and you were like, don't spin in it. It's my job to spin in it. I told that it was really annoying, and that I spin around all day in class.
Now that you mentioned that, I think I do remember you spinning, but I never found it to be annoying. Is that why you try to sit toward the back?
Yes. It's also why I lower my chair all the way, or else I knock things over. So I'm not sitting in the back because I don't want to talk. I love to answer questions.
Yep.
I'm doing it because it annoys people when I spin the entire class.
See, I think that's good to be aware of how your actions might be affecting other people.
Yeah, of course.
I always try to lower the chair so that my thighs are parallel to the ground, roughly speaking, because I think that's ergonomically correct.
I don't know. I have a really bad posture.
Oh, me too.
I had a thought when you said ignorance is bliss, but like, even since I was a little kid, people who like choose that, who are like, I don't want to learn because I'm happy being an idiot and ignorant, annoy me like immensely. Like, I can clock it immediately when I talk to someone, and then I like start, like, my eye starts twitching, and I'm like, I want to leave this conversation so bad because they make me angry. Like, like, I've never understood this. Like, why don't you want to know? How can you not want to know? If I had infinite money, I'd be in college for the rest of my life. I'd be like, I want to learn this and this and this, and I want to learn everything.
Right.
Everything at all. And like, I've never understood it. Or like, people who want to learn just because they want good grades. Like, I can understand that at least. But like, I don't know. This is definitely not termed, coined by me, but like academic bulimia. They just learn and they throw it up. But if you ask them a question about that, they couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
They're just learning it so they can regurgitate it and get that good grade and feel good about that good grade. And I'm like, I will not. I can't. I have to know. I have to understand it too. Like, I can't just be like, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I got to be like, why though?
Yeah.
How?
Right. Every faculty member listening to this is going to be thinking, I want Almira in my class. Because we toss around the phrase lifelong learners all the time. But it is kind of that. And I recognize and try to bring this up in class periodically that I know that societally or culturally we have decided that, quote unquote, everybody needs to, quote unquote, go to college to get a degree, to get a job, to be of value to society. But so I do think, not especially at the community college level, I think a lot of our students want to be here.
Yeah.
Because they want to improve their lives, they want to improve their careers, they want to improve the lives of their friends and family members. But there are, I think, always going to be a handful at any institution that are here out of obligation because they feel like they have to be. And I think that's where you get the instances where they're kind of just going through the motions or, well, I don't really care about this paper, so I'll just use AI to do it. And it is sad, but academic life isn't for everybody.
I took a lot of high-level classes in high school. I was always in like the AP English or the UConn history, whatever. And it would drive me nuts, the people who are like, I'd be like, do you want to talk about what we learned? And they're like, I couldn't tell you a single thing. And they're only getting the grades because they're like, I have to go to college. I have to get this job. And I'm like, but why? Tell me why.
Yeah.
Why do you want that? And they could never answer me. I made someone cry once. Because I was like, why do you want to be that? And they were like, I don't know. And I was like, why don't you know? How are you just like... I need to know. I know exactly why I want to go into nursing, and that's not for the reasons you might think. It's a fulfilling job, but I don't really care, like, the actions of it, and it lets me work at night. I cannot stand early jobs.
Okay.
I love the nighttime. I'm a creature of the night.
I say that all the time.
I'm a creature of the night. I've had insomnia my entire life. I did, and... I'm 18 now, so they could probably give me any medication. But before, they were like, you're not old enough for us to give you any medication. And so it would drive me crazy because I wouldn't sleep for 3 or 4 days. And you know what that's like? Like you start hallucinating at that point. And I was like, because I couldn't sleep during the daytime. And it's like, why fight that? Why, if my body's like that, why fight it?
Yeah.
If I prefer the night, I hate the sunlight. I hate the sunlight. I would be the perfect vampire. I'd be great at it. I'd be a night shift nurse as a vampire. Easy blood supply. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then also it pays enough for me to go travel because I love to travel. Sure. I love to learn about people. That's my favorite, like, topic to learn about. I love people. I, like, will immediately, what's it called? Exclude? Not exclude, but I'm like, that person is really weird. I want to know.
Identify, yeah.
I want to know. Like, I'm like, yes, that person, I've never met anyone like that person. Let's learn about that person. And so I love traveling because, like, you get to learn about all those different people and all those different cultures and food.
I think your mindset about why you want to become a nurse, like you said, for the non-obvious reasons, not just like, oh, I want to help people, which I'm sure is true, but I think the way that you are framing it in terms of like the lifestyle that you want to have is so easily overlooked and so something that we don't think about. And the thought process was the same for me in terms of ending up here is that I knew that I did not want to drive to the same building, sit at a desk for 8 hours every day, and then drive home. Because I knew I was not a morning person, also a creature of the night. So, and I know that I loved the college environment and working with college students of all ages. And just picking English as the path, knowing that, I mean, what do I really want to do is I would like to read and write and listen to music for the rest of my life.
So amazing.
Yeah. And, like, how could you want to do anything else? Like, I tried a bunch of courses in my first 2 years at Sacred Heart, thinking that maybe I should get an MBA and do something practical. And all those classes were, like...
lame.
Boring. Really bad for my GPA. And it was not just what did I want to spend my time doing, but also what type of people did I want to surround myself with? Did I want to be around business people all the time?
Boring. Lame.
Yeah. My karate instructor used to say that lawyer and doctor at one point were the two most popular professions or whatever. And it's like, do you want to be a lawyer who argues all day, or do you want to be a doctor who's around sick people all day? I know that's kind of a cynical way of thinking about it, but it resonated with me in terms of who do you want to surround yourself with? And I always found myself annoying and pestering and poking into the offices of my English professors, and
me too.
And wanting to hang out with them and distract them. And I still get together with a couple of my undergraduate instructors.
Make friends much more easily with my teachers and my peers because they usually have passions and goals and dreams.
Right.
Like one of my Latin teacher from high school, I still keep in contact with her, and I love her. She's like my, not model, but like want to be kind of like her.
Yeah.
Anyways, adding on to the lifestyle thing, I can be a travel nurse. I can go places, see people, meet people. And I want to work in the ER, which means I'll probably never get bored. I won't. That was another thing. It was like, what profession will not bore me? What profession, like what? And then like I was like, I like nursing because of the lifestyle. And then I was like, what department will not drive me crazy by doing the same thing every single day? And I was like, emergency room, car crashes, other problems. The car crashes was just the first one that came into my mind. And it's like, it's going to be, because I want to also live in the city for, the same reasons. And so I was like, I want to see something different and new every single day. I want to meet different and new people every single day. 'Cause that's how you learn. If you do the same thing every single day, you're just repeating the motions. You'll never learn.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Do you think that, because I'm seeing connections here between you just sitting and thinking, your intolerance for boredom, does reading play fit into these sort of priorities of yours in terms of, because reading for me is a solitary act.
Yeah.
And so what value does reading have for you in those contexts?
I get a new topic to think about. Like, I love Richard Seikens' poetry. He's coming out with a new one this year, and I'm so excited. But I love poetry especially compared to other forms of literature, because it's not usually good poetry is not obvious at first. Yes. The meaning is not immediately. You got to read it 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 different times before you're like, I got it. I get it. And even like Richard Seikens' poetry it has a very obsessive quality to it. Like it's feverish, like the way he writes. It's just so like, I don't know. It feels very fast. Like when I read it, I'm reading Richard Seikens' poetry very fast, if that makes sense. Because that's just like, it like trails into itself. I don't know, there's a specific term where like the sentence cuts off and goes to another thing. Yeah,
an jammed line.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called, but he does that quite often. I don't know about War of the Foxes, but in Crush, which is his first collection, he does that a lot. And I'm like kind of stumbling over myself into the words, and I really love it. It keeps me very entertained, and I can read it another 1,000 times. Poetry and reading, especially especially as a kid, I read War and Peace in 3rd grade.
Wow.
Yeah. I consumed books like nothing now. Like I don't read as much as I used to. I don't know. But I was like, I'm not learning. I don't feel like I'm learning in elementary school. But books, it was like all these new types of people, all these new topics to think about, to sit in my room and I could think about it. And especially poetry, because poetry was a little bit easier to read as a young kid. I read Sylvia Plath really young, too, because my mom was like, if you can read it, you can read it. If you can understand it, you can read it.
Wow.
Which had problems later on because I was really bored with my peers and I didn't make friends easily because I was like, you want to talk about Sylvia Plath? And they'd be like, Coco Melon, Octonauts, or like the adults too. I would be like, can I talk about politics with you? And they'd be like, you're just a kid. What would you know about that? Which would infuriate me. I would get so angry. I'd be like, maybe you don't know about it. And you don't want to talk to a kid because you don't want to feel bad. You don't know enough to explain it to me. But I read everything I could get my hands on because I was like, this is so much more interesting than people.
Yeah.
The people in the books are so much interesting than the people around me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about poetry. I feel like that is the paradox. And what makes it challenging for a lot of students is that it is so much literally shorter, and so you have fewer words to analyze and work with and write about. But it's also a lot easier to fall into the trap of, it takes me 60 seconds to read this, and you get to the end, you're like, okay. So you really do have to get comfortable with sitting with this handful of words and reading it 2 to 5 to 7 to 10 more times before it really gets into your bones. And I think that it's the paradox of the brevity of it and the economy of it is what makes it more challenging and denser to read. And then to your point about the people that you read about, that's why, because I started a dedicate, I was always a good reader, I think, as a kid. Hooked on Phonics literally worked for me. But I think I started a dedicated reading practice where I just do 30 minutes in the morning with coffee and the cats, pretty much every morning. And I started doing that only a few years ago in like 2021 because I was starting to have pretty serious panic and anxiety. And, Harold Bloom, who's one of my English teacher crushes, said that we read because we cannot know enough people.
Yes.
And we read literature because we see ourselves in the literature, and it reminds us that nothing we're going through everybody has, there's nothing new under the sun, as they say. Everything that we've been through, other people have been going through since the dawn of time. But this act of solitary reading and concentrating on something external, but also with a serious mental component for a prolonged period of time, I think has, especially the accumulated effects of it, of doing it every day, has been really beneficial, I think, for my mental health and for my ability to concentrate on something like, I have to grade for an hour. And I feel like I can do that because I practice doing one thing and not scrolling on my phone constantly.
I have, speaking of scrolling on your phone, I have to use Instagram on Google Chrome because I will sit there and I won't even think about what I'm looking at. I'll just be in my head thinking, which is a problem because I'm like, yes, color is beautiful. But on Google Chrome, it makes it so difficult. But one of my English teachers, I don't know if he was quoting someone or not, said that one of the most important things you can bring to your reading is yourself and like your history and what you've read. And I think that it really, sometimes I'll pull out meanings that no one else finds from like poetry because I associate it with something in my life.
Of course.
And not with the right, like, screw the formalist approach to literature. It's about me. But I don't know. I love poetry. I try to read at least one poem a day, just because recently I've just been doing a lot of sitting and thinking.
Yeah. Where do you get that daily poem?
I either from one of my books, because I just bought a new one by a new collection of Mary Oliver's poems.
Oh, yep. She's great. Do I have something of hers over here? Probably.
Mary Oliver. She's very different from the other two poets I read the most, which is Richard Sicken and Sylvia Plath, because hers is very like, I want to say like meditative or calm, or more about like appreciating the small things in life, which I do often just because I think about things a lot. So I kind of have to, the beauty of a single leaf.
Yeah. Things
like that. But I love Mary Oliver, and I love Richard Sicken's my favorite poet. But Sylvia Plath wrote my favorite novel, so
The Bell Jar.
I love The Bell Jar. It's right here. This is my $100 copy of The Bell Jar.
Wow. Did you carry that around, or did you bring it in specifically for this?
I couldn't find my bad copy.
Okay. Hardcover. Look at you.
I know. It's got its own case, and it's got like, if I could find it, I'll just pull it. It's got some illustrations.
Okay.
Not too many. And the only thing that bothers me about this, if I had known this when I bought it, or before I bought it, I probably wouldn't have bought it. The quote that they go with, it's not on the same page. Sometimes it's pages later. It makes me angry. Or like, this first picture is it's like on page 30 or something like that. Like the quote that it goes with.
Yeah.
And it annoys me very much.
That's lovely. It looks like that copy is pretty pristine. Is that like your cherished copy? Do you have like another copy that's like all torn up and written in and stuff?
I haven't written in it, but I got it. I read The Bell Jar the first 2 times loaned from a library. So I was like, I can't write in this. I'm trying really hard not to doggy ear it.
Yep.
This one I refused to doggy ear because it was $100.
Right.
But I do think I have a gum wrapper in here as a bookmark because I was rereading this the
nice.
other day. But that one, I just wanted to really I got this recently, so I wanted to appreciate this version of it before I go in and start annotating the hell out of The Bell Jar again.
Yeah, that's so great. I've been more into paperback copies, especially since I started the reading habit, because I love to write in books and stuff.
I like paperbacks too because I go like this.
Oh, yeah. I don't...
As you can see, this copy is pretty...
That's a well-loved copy.
It is. I really like this.
But that's great. I don't... it's not like I actively try to not break the spine, but... like the book I'm reading right now is about 470 pages, and I'm almost done with it, and I don't think I've cracked the spine.
That's the first thing I do is I crack the spine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I immediately, I go, because I'd be too busy worrying about not cracking the spine to enjoy the book. Or like, sometimes I'm like, when I'm reading someone else's book, like I'm borrowing it, I'm very focused on don't treat this how I treat my books, which is dog ear the pages, put it on the floor, crack open the spine, roll up the cover. And that sometimes it takes away from my reading. So like when I'm reading my own personal copies, I'm like, I don't care what happens to you as long as I can still read what's in the pages.
Yeah.
Just because then I can be like fully immersed in it.
It's so funny because the books are such sacred objects in some ways, but at the same time, yeah, it's they should be well loved and have a lot of miles on them.
For me, like, it's not the book, the form itself, it's the words that's sacred. So as long as I can read that, I don't really care what else happens to it. Unless it's my copy of the bell jar, which I will be keeping pristine and all. If I ever have children, which I doubt, I will give them the bell jar.
Yeah.
This is your heirloom.
Heirloom
keep
quality.
Safe. Mm-hmm. It's from Folio Society. I want to get their copy of Blood Meridian, even though I've never read Blood Meridian. But...
Oh my gosh, you can't bring up Blood Meridian now. We're already an hour in.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
See, time flies. I've read Blood Meridian twice. Mm-hmm. I think twice, maybe 3 times, but twice. It's a hell of a thing. Mm-hmm. Have you read other McCarthy?
No.
Okay. I might not.
He doesn't use quotations.
That's true. You get used to it. The way that he does it is remarkable because you do end up... Somehow you can still tell who's speaking, even though he doesn't use quotation marks. When you read Blood Meridian, you'll come back on the show. Okay. And we will just talk about Blood Meridian.
All right, I'll annotate it, though.
Yeah. I might not recommend starting with Blood Meridian. I'm sure you can handle it, but...
Blah, blah.
Yeah. Cormac McCarthy is my favorite author, so that's why I laugh that we bring it up now. The 470-page book that I'm reading right now is Suttree, which is his longest and most sprawling novel, but I'm almost done, and I'm adoring every second of it. But yeah, he's the greatest. Just only died a few years ago.
Oh, I didn't know he was dead. I found out George Michaels was dead, and he'd been dead for 8 years, and I started crying because I was like, why did no one tell me he was dead?
The music artist?
Yeah, sorry, no, this has nothing. It's just made me thought of that. Or like one of my favorite authors is Evie Babbitt's, because she writes in such a gossipy way. It feels much more conversational than it does maybe like analytical. Like it's very different from, in my opinion, Sylvia Plath or anything like that, because she's kind of mean, and I really like it. And I get really engrossed in it. Like Fast Days, Slow Company, is my second favorite novel of all time. It's just such a fun read, and she's just a fun author. And I found out she died like 2 years ago, and I was so upset.
Yeah.
Why did no one tell me?
I know. Yeah, I mean, how does one find out when their favorite author dies? I mean, when McCarthy died, it was pretty big news in literary circles because he was like one of the great living authors.
Everyone's
for
heard
sure.
about Blood Meridian.
Yeah, it really sticks with you when you read it. So I look forward to us talking about that someday.
Great, I'll let you know. It'll be a while. I promised my friend Mitchell, who also reads, I promised him I'd read the entirety of the first Dune book if he read The Bell Jar.
Love Dune. Loved the recent movies. Haven't seen the 84 version. I have a hardcover Dune that my aunt gave me when I was like 9. It's like inscribed by her. But I need to reread it, and I would like to read some of the sequels as well.
I can't stand sci-fi. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy sci-fi. Do they consider that hard sci-fi? It might be.
But I like the politics in it. I love reading about. I love when things have politics.
Yep.
I'd much rather politics than anything else. That's why I like Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is a good time.
Politics.
Yeah, exactly. Almira, I can't thank you enough for all of your time that you have donated to the show here. We always like to end with a recommendation for the listeners in terms of anything you think the people listening should check out or think about, or any parting words that you'd like to bestow upon them.
Read War of Foxes by Richard Seikin. And also listen to Broovy. Broovy's like my favorite band right now.
Broovy. B-R-O-O?
B-R-U-V-V-Y.
Okay. What kind of music is that?
Rock.
Rock music.
I don't know if you're going to play it at the end of this, but
I probably won't, but I will listen to it. Is there an album of choice?
I don't know if they have an album. My favorite song by them is Dread Hot or Fake It.
Dread Hot or Fake It? Is that 2 songs?
No, dread hot, comma, fake it.
Dread hot, comma. See those commas. Fake it. Okay. Excellent. I love a good media recommendation.
Oh, and if you're going to read anything by Richard Seiken, you should read the poem Portrait of Friedrich Shifting in the Light.
Okay. It'll be in the show notes. I don't think I've ever plugged the show notes before, but links to everything that we talk about on these episodes can be found at theflowdown.net.
Perfect.
Almira, thank you again so much for being here. It was a pleasure to talk to you and a piece of cake to talk to you, so I really appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, very much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please tell somebody else to listen to it. And until next time, thanks.
Bye. I hate the idea that people have like a true version of themselves and a fake one. Like every other version of them.
You hate that idea?
I don't like it.
Okay.
Because every part of you is real. Even your lies, those mean, to me, they tell me as much about you as the truths of you.
Yes.
Like, why would you lie about that?
Right.
And I think one of my favorite quotes in here is,
Say it into the microphone.
opaque in the sense of finely solid, in the sense of see me, not through me. The selves, glaze on glaze, accumulating their moods and minutes. That, like, every version of yourself builds up on each other. If you know painting, like, a lot of times you have, like, the underwash and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so every part of you is real because it accumulates. And what you lie about accumulates just as much as how truthful you are.